Nick, just before we leave the derby, you wrote quite a scathing piece on Stefano Pioli, which will be going up on the website tomorrow morning. You seem to think it's his last derby, right?
Yeah, I think so. I can't see into staying with him for next season. I think scathing may be a bit dramatic, but
I'm the only person that's read it, so we'll let the listeners decide.
no, I mean, I wasn't. The point of the piece, I guess, wasn't to criticize Pioli, but rather to criticize where the club's found itself in terms of the managerial position. Um, I don't think. I guess I've just find Pioli to have shown his limitations, particularly in the last couple of weeks, and it's at the stage where either whatever Inter does, I mean, the most likely kind of successor long term seems to still be Diego Simeone, if that does happen with Atletico Madrid, which is still hearsay. But if that is to happen, which looks likely for 2018 and not earlier, then there's the whole issue of what does Inter do in the meantime? Does it continue with a coach like Pioli, who has a limited capacity to take Inter to the next level and is going to provide games like against AC Milan, where Inter should be winning but aren't getting the right results, and possibly put a Champions League for the next season in jeopardy? Or do they find a new coach for just one season, which would be the 10th coach since Mourinho, Jose Mourinho, and then with a view to again changing to Simeone? So to me, it doesn't seem like a right move for Inter to make with the managerial positions if Simeone is going to be the future. So it's just kind of covering that, and it's not a good position to be in, which I guess comes back to why I was so angered as an Inter fan when De Boer was sacked after 85 days.
I mean, let's assume that let's assume Diego Simeone doesn't make it. He chooses another club and goes somewhere else. I mean, like you mentioned, since Jose Mourinho, Inter have gone through a lot of coaches, and I guess even since before Jose Mourinho, they'd gone through a lot of coaches. I mean, yes, there will always be a name out there, but surely they're running out of people to hire.
It seems like that. I think we've kind of gone through everyone that's has a name in the ranks. It just seems really crazy, the fact that the club hierarchy, and it's funny that you speak about the club hierarchy and everything, that what Milan needs to do with these new owners, which is basically do exactly what Inter hasn't done. And the whole mess that's going on with their hierarchy, I mean, to the point where no one knows who's making what decision. So that's kind of 101 on what not to do with some new owners. But the fact that whoever is making these decisions, giving such short-term time for these coaches, but yet still expecting some kind of consistency and continuity on the field, it's just never going to happen, is it? So it's that, I guess, where a lot of frustration comes from, and why Inter is in this position now. It's not surprising when you're considering, I mean, 9th coach at the moment, Stefano Pioli, 9th coach since Jose Mourinho. That's insane. That's what kind of consistency?
The comments coming in now, and they're kind of a bit mixed as well. One person says, sure, let's sack another coach, it's year zero all over again. And then another is saying, what's the point in keeping Pioli? So there is very much that divide out there as well.
Exactly. There's no right move, in my opinion. Like, either way, it's not a good move. But this is where the club has got itself into. It's dug itself a hole.
But I think definitely that the flux of, is Diego Simeone going to make it as Inter coach in 2018 or not, I think is also making the decision a lot more complicated. Because, like you say, do you just keep Pioli as interim, or do you just get somebody else to be the interim until Diego Simeone comes in? Those are all those very tough decisions to make, and almost I feel like as a default, keep Pioli as long as he has the backing of the dressing room. I don't see why sack him as long as he's able to stay within reach of of a Europa League spot and have an outside shot of getting to the Champions League spots, then that's fine. Because let's remember, the Champions League, there will be 4 spots for the Champions League for Serie A coming up quite soon. So that's something that's very important to consider. So it might not be a bad idea to gamble on just the consistency not the consistency, the stability of Pioli for the time being, and just kind of like, just bite the bullet, hope he can get you at least a 4th place, and then if Simeone is ready and you can get him, then move on there.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And to be honest, if while I believe he does have the limitations and he's not the right person to take Inter to the next level, if it was my choice, I'd personally probably keep him on, purely because, as you said, there's that continuity there that Inter simply hasn't had. And while he initially brought some good results, there was that 7-match winning streak, but you look at those 7 matches that he won in a row, and 6 of those were from bottom half teams. So when Lazio being the only exception. So yeah, anyway, if you want to read more on Pioli, be sure to have a look at my piece on FIF.